You know me, I can talk for 25 minutes straight, but my goal is to talk for about 5 and open it up to questions. If y'all don't have any questions, then I'll just start bloviating again and go right back into my speech. But there's lots and lots of changes that are coming to credit cards and some really exciting stuff and really good things for merchants and consumers. I know, well, one thing's not great for merchants, one thing is really good for merchants, and hopefully it will kind of change some preconceptions people have about the types of cards we take. Does anybody happen to know what EMV stands for? That's going to be the new card. My friend who was in the industry is going to know. What does EMV stand for?
MasterCard, Visa.
That's right, Eurocard, MasterCard, Visa. That's the one, and thanks Mark. Mark's always here to nicely hand me his cards.
Nice chip.
Yeah, and it's got the chip in there. And my experience in Spain, see, Americans, we got on the credit card bandwagon early on, and so we used a magnetic strip technology, which is, you know, think of it like cassette tapes in your car. And how many of you have a cassette deck in your car? Exactly. You know, it's nice to have the Talk mixtape from 1986, but The Cure. Okay.
No, Talk.
But these chips are actually really awesome. Canada went ahead and a few years ago, I mean, they were on the bandwagon a little after us, so they were using magnetic strips. About 5 years ago, they switched to the Eurocard, MasterCard, Visa, the chip, and they lowered fraud rates incredibly. I think they saved $5 billion in 3 years in fraudulent transactions and then identity theft. And what these chips are going to do is they actually randomize the internal number every time you go to a merchant and swipe it. So should somebody actually somehow, you've heard horror stories of like radio Wi-Fi devices that can steal your credit card number, should someone somehow get that, they can use it one time. They can't go and make 9 purchases, and what a lot of them were doing was making a very small transaction that you wouldn't notice, see if the card worked, and then they'd go onto some website and order big ticket items. The other thing, I mean, this is going to protect us as consumers, and yes, I'm sorry, many of you are business owners, that's on you now. You're going to have to purchase those terminals, but the technology is there. You're going to be able to provide a higher level of security and fraud prevention for your customers, and it's going to make people feel a lot better. You know, debit cards, I know they're cheaper. As merchants, I want you all to accept them. But as consumers, I want you to pay with your credit card. And even if it's your Bank of America ATM card and they ask you for an option, hey, do you want to pay debit or credit? I want you to always say credit. When it's credit, they're not actually pulling that money out of your account as a cash transaction. And so the fraud prevention is much, much easier. I know for example, American Express, I had my card stolen. They actually called me and alerted me, and they said, no problem, we'll take it off. I'm a little embarrassed about this story, but I fell for an online survey, and they said, hey, you know, this is, just give us your credit card for shipping and handling, and you get this free product. And I gave them my debit card. Oh. And that took me 6 months to get that money back, because they actually do pull those funds out of your account, and they have to run their full investigation before they refund you that money. Credit card companies, part of the cost that you as merchants are paying is built in for the risk involved in the credit cards. Where my company comes in actually is, you know, these companies really want to wait a little while to give people an option to declare fraud or to make sure that transactions were correct. And you're going to hear that with Square. When you know, Square will hold on your money for a long period of time to investigate your one really good month of credit card transactions. But in reality, what they're doing is they're waiting to make sure that nobody cancels the transaction, and they're investing your money in stocks, bonds, and things like that, and making a little on the back end for themselves. So where we come in is we come in and we guarantee your money in 24 to 48 business hours. It's really the only way you're going to be able to do business and make payroll unless you have tons of liquid assets in which you can pay your employees. So yes, accepting credit cards is expensive, but then we all come in and compete with one another to bring those rates down. This is the change that I'm really excited about. You guys like Costco? Does anybody go to Costco? And remember the credit card they used to accept? American Express. Not anymore. They severed their business relationship. And I think American Express kind of said, whoops, this is not good. So now American Express is playing ball fairly and squarely. Maybe not a term I should use with credit card companies, but they're playing ball like Visa and like MasterCard. So what I'm currently doing is going through my list of clients and I'm working my way through them, and I'm letting everybody know that now that American Express is treating themselves like other companies, they're going to be cheaper to accept. You may have to sign another form and another piece of paper to get it done. It's called Act Blue currently, but essentially all it means is that they are going to allow independent sales offices, which is what Cutting Edge is. Independent sales offices are going to be allowed to compete for their business. American Express had this thing where they said these are our two rates and every card falls into them. Well, that wasn't working because a lot of merchants basically said, I'm not taking American Express, it's too expensive. So they would take Visa and MasterCard and not accept American Express. Well, now that would be a great tip for me. Anybody who wasn't taking American Express beforehand, anybody who is taking American Express now, but their merchant service provider hasn't contacted them to let them know. And I mean, I'm doing my best. I'm working through my list, and I think I'm a little over halfway done, but I'm just tearing through it and letting you know, hey, nothing changes except American Express is going to be cheaper. So I think those are going to be the two big changes. One for you as a consumer, safer credit cards, safer credit card transactions. Yes, we have to have new terminals, and these are for anybody who actually has a business front, or if you want to refer me out, these are what the terminals are going to look like. I didn't have enough because I only thought the people who actually run swipe transactions in their office would like one, and I probably should have said that when I handed them out, but now's the time. But actually, a lot is not changing for people like Amazon. Actually, people like Mark, who generally just get a credit card number and then run it as a transaction at the end. That's not a card-present transaction. Very few things are going to change in that regard. So if you do bulk services for somebody and then bill them at the end of the month in which they pay with a credit card, not much is changing for you. So really all the fear, all of the everything is upside down and topsy-turvy, it's not true. It's for people who actually take cards in their hand and are constantly making transactions face-to-face. I think that was probably 7-8 minutes of me just chatting away. So yes, please, Glenn.
Okay, so with I understand that, so the security is going to be in that type of transaction, card in hand. If somebody steals your number and uses the number, a merchant will take just the number like online or something, so not much is going to change it.
Not much is going to change. You know, they still ask you for some information that hopefully those types of thieves couldn't get unless they completely hack your system, in which we're talking about identity theft, not credit card fraud. They're still going to ask you for things like the CCV number. Your zip code is usually a very common one. Those two are really, oddly enough, very strong protections. You notice every time you pay at a gas station, they ask you for your zip code, not the CCV number. And it's actually, oddly enough, it is a very good protection. Debit cards are so unbelievably inexpensive because they say if somebody gets your debit card number, that's your own damn fault. Any other questions? Yeah, very little is actually changing with Amazon. And maybe the day will come when every computer will have some sort of device where you just slide your card, but I doubt it. I think it's going to remain the same as securing numbers and being able just to run those numbers with a verified transaction.
So is this going to be our choice then? Or is this just an example?
Example and your choices for now. That was kind of the early, these changes were coming for years, but Visa got into a fight with Bank of America and US Bank, and if you could imagine the US government working any more poorly than when two very moneyed interests with lots of lobbyists got into it with each other. So they kept pushing the date back, and they finally said, now's the time. And then half the industry acted unprepared. So these are the first line of terminals coming out. We have pre-order specials. So those are actually very good deals on things that will be more expensive as demand kicks in. I think we're getting down to the end of it. It starts in October. And these are going to be good for a long, long time. When we were using the magnetic strips full or 8 minutes?
You're 2 seconds over.
I can talk. I am always around to chat. Yeah, please, yeah.
There's a $25 new fee that my merchant services is attached to my merchant services stuff. Is that typical of what's going on?
It's a new type of insurance. Have you not changed your terminal over yet? It's a new type of insurance. You do virtual terminal? Maybe come talk to me. I'd be happy always, I'm happy to look at your bill with no expectation of you switching to me, just to let you know what's going on, because an informed consumer makes better decisions. So I'm always happy to take a look at anybody's, even with no expectation. All right, thank you so much. Sorry I talk a lot.